Hi everybody, my name is Nanika Edwards and I'm a poet and artist from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. Do you know where Trinidad and Tobago is? We are right next to Venezuela. Venezuela is in South America. Trinidad and Tobago is a twin island country or nation in the Caribbean. In this video, you can see two things. You see a poem about a hummingbird and you actually see an illustration with a hummingbird. So I'm an artist. I illustrate my own work and I did this illustration of this hummingbird. This poem can actually be found on my Twitter account. Anyway, today what I wanted to talk about is something called alliteration. What is alliteration? Do you know? If you saw my last video, you probably would know what it is. Can you remember? Well, if you don't, that's okay because I'm going to explain again in this video. Alliteration is a poetic device. A poetic device is a special tool, a special word play tool or word tool that poets and writers use to give their writing that extra oomph, that extra punch. So, to make language more dramatic or more playful, more memorable, more interesting to the ear and to the eye. So alliteration is a poetic device. In this poem, you can see different examples of alliteration. Now, what is alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of initial consonant sounds in close succession. What do I mean by that? Initial means at the start of a word. So when you have a consonant sound at the start of a word, and then you have another word not far from that word and in the same line with the same sound at the start of the word, then that's alliteration. By the way, do you know what a consonant is? A consonant is the opposite of a vowel. Anything that is not a vowel in the alphabet is a consonant. So let me read this poem for you and then we're going to pull out all the examples of alliteration that we can find in it. Hum with a hummingbird, hovering around a rosy hibiscus, dancing, darting, diving, dipping, flying, fluttering, fleeting, flitting, sun shimmer sapphire, sipping. Okay, so can you see any examples of alliteration in this poem? Can you pick them out? Well, let's start with line 1. Hum with a hummingbird. We have hum and then hummingbird, and they're close to each other. They're just two words apart. So that's an example of alliteration. The initial consonant sound is the H sound. So that's an example of alliteration. The second line, hovering around a rosy hibiscus. So we have the H sound again. This time they're 3 words apart. Okay, so not two words or one word apart, 3 words apart, but still close enough for this to count as alliteration. So hovering and hibiscus both start with the letter H and produce the sound like a panting dog. The next line, the third line, features 4 words that all start with the D sound. D, D. Dancing, darting, diving, dipping. They all start with the D sound. So D is a consonant, just like H is a consonant. So that's an example of alliteration. The fourth line also has 4 words. What letter do they start with? And what sound do they create? Because the important thing isn't necessarily the letter. The important thing is the sound. The letter is important, yes. The more important thing is the sound that they produce. In this line, all of the words start with the letter F. Flying, fluttering, fleeting, flitting. And just like H and D, F is a consonant. The fifth line features the letter S. We have sun, shimmer, sapphire, sipping. Now, which are the words that all have the same sound? Correct. Sun, sapphire, and sipping. We cannot count the S in shimmer. It really goes together with the letter H to create a sh sound. Whereas sun starts with S, sapphire starts with S, and sipping starts with S, like a snake sound, right? But shimmer is more like shh when you're telling somebody to hush, right? So in this line, we do have an example of alliteration, but even though the 4 words or the 4 different words that you can find in this line start with the letter S, only 3 of them create an example of alliteration. The use of alliteration in this poem makes a poem interesting, extra memorable. I hope you have a good idea of why we use alliteration and how we use alliteration. Until the next video, if you like this video, thank you for liking and giving it a thumbs up.